just like normal. I'm gonna pop it out, and then you're gonna slide it up until you get to that wire keeper. Now you're gonna flip your jig. So you got the hook point up. You're gonna grab this plastic right by the, if it was a minnow, it'd be at the minnow's throat. But this is the worm, so it's right at the bottom of the worm. You're gonna pull it down and slide it up to the head of the hook and snap it. And now this is rigged up.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Hook One Pod. Hey, I'm here in the studio. We're in the bait shop in Marine City, tucked away in the back room. We've got an awesome guest with us today. We've got Capt Joe. What's up, dude?
Nothing, just chilling, getting ready for tomorrow. Stick some big old fat eyes in Detroit.
We got a big day tomorrow. Are you fishing in the morning?
No, we have a doctor's appointment in the morning, and then the plan is to put 3 weighers on the scales by 8 o'clock.
Yeah, man, we got a big one. We're fishing the Ultimate Walleye Derby. For those of you guys that don't know, it's a statewide derby basically that's going on from Saginaw Bay all the way into the Michigan, Ohio, Ontario border there in Lake Erie. So Detroit River is going to be a big player.
Yeah, so far, I mean, we've got a couple fish that came from Lake Erie, but basically at the mouth of the Detroit River. So, I mean, it seems like that's the player right now. I guess there was one weighed in up in Saginaw too, but those fish, if it would have been a week ago, Saginaw would have been a big player, but those fish really dumped fast, got out of there.
Dude, that fishery kind of was like really hit and miss. Like the MWT got the short end of the stick too, because the week before for Z Bridge was a killer weekend, big weights. That was beginning of March, and then crap. You know the problem is it's so with the weather it can change in a hurry up there.
That's tournament fishing though, man. If you want to be the best of the best, you have to be able to overcome and adapt. I
That's it,
mean,
man. I mean,
if you want a slaughter fest, just fish on the weekends and call in sick, and you can go put your personal best up. But if you want to beat the rest of the anglers and you want to be top dog, you got to fish in every condition. You
yeah,
can't be cherry picking these. Oh, it's gonna be Saginaw. It's gonna be tough.
you
Like,
gotta go.
who cares? Put your big boy pants on and go whip line under the bridge and try and get 2 bites.
That's the crazy thing. Like you fish all day for 5 bites. After talking to Chase, they fished all weekend for 5 bites. But that's it.
Never
I mean,
land
that's
one
how
fish.
that's exactly how Illinois River is every time the national guys start their tour over there in Spring Valley. It's tough fishing. It's one of those
Yep.
tournaments. It's like shitty. Deal with it.
You, yeah, I mean, if you want to be the best, you got to win everywhere. And
So
if you want to be a local hammer on your own little pond, well, then you can have a 2-boat tournament in your backyard on your pond, and you can be the king of your own pond.
that's it. That's it. We need a pond like Deion Sanders.
Yeah, that'd be sick. We got
Some
one.
giant.
It's called Lake St. Clair.
Yeah, yeah. I got to spend a lot more time out there to be catching them big boys.
I don't know. You got the ride to do it now.
Ow. Yeah, no doubt, dude. The new boat, it's getting wrapped now, and I'm getting antsy to get it back because I had it for like a week, and we fished it pretty good. But we're still cold up here, man. We're sitting at 37. I mean, we fished on Sunday on April or on Easter Sunday, and it was 37 degrees from St. Clair all the way basically down to the state park. So you're talking about middle of the river, a good 8-9 miles of river there. Our water's cold.
Well, I'll tell you what, on Thursday, last week, I went out to pre-fish for my trip on Friday. On Thursday, I caught 1 fish, and it was an 8-pound hen that was spitting up eggs, and it was 37.4 degrees.
Yeah,
And then the water temperature literally went up like a half a degree, and we caught a ton of spawning fish the next day. They literally appeared overnight. So
that's
it can
crazy.
happen quick. Like
And I think
literally Thursday I caught 1 fish, Friday we caught 44, and we fished the same water.
yeah, and I said that last week. Like I really thought it was going to start last week. So just from like previous records, that the March 20th, March 21st was really good for us. I know every year it's a little different, but it's coming up. We've got a little bit of rain. We've got some warm days coming. This upcoming weekend's going to be in the 50s, 60s even next week. It's going to be here in a heartbeat. And I've been telling the guys, they keep, I don't know if it's worth going yet. I don't know if it's worth going yet. Dude, it's going to be any day those fish are going to be biting. And then once those big fish are in, they're gone. Like, they're not here for a week.
Do you want to make the report, or do you want to fish the tail end of the report that barely happens, and it might not even happen after you've gotten the report from the day before? Like, those
And
fish move around so much. Like, they can dump their eggs in one day and be done and
yeah,
gone.
and the bite windows are so short. I mean,
Especially,
Friday
yeah,
was a perfect
37 degrees.
example.
Yeah.
Yeah, Friday was a perfect example. Friday morning, there was a couple boats in this one spot, and they crushed. And I was really excited because it was a really nice day on Friday. The sun was out all day. I'm like, yo, I'm going out in the afternoon. We're getting all of our bait. We're going to be ready to go as soon as work closes. We're hopping in the truck. Truck's already hooked up to the boat. And we get out there as soon as possible, and we drifted there all night for 4 bites. And I'm talking like the guys were catching 2-3 man limits of really nice fish. And it looked like those fish were still there, but they just might not be active. So you got to do it
Friday,
when you can.
yeah, so Friday I launched early, got picked up my clients, and we were down jigging like way before the sun came up, and the moon was still high up in the sky. And those fish, it was below freezing, like our line was icing up a little bit, but
Yeah.
those fish bit really, really good until that moon disappeared. Once that moon disappeared, it got a lot tougher, and we had to wait for that sun to get high and warm the water up another degree. Once the water warmed up another degree because it was warm, then they started biting again. But there
Mm-hmm.
was a gap where that moon went down and it wasn't warm yet, and we just didn't catch anything. Like, we were on fish, I could see the fish on Panoptics. They were not biting. As soon as the conditions changed, it was like a light switch, and they just started biting again. And we caught them until we were tired of catching them.
And there was nothing you could do as far as switching up live bait, changing colors, changing plastics.
No, I
They're
mean
just
we,
neutral.
yeah, I mean we caught them on the same bait in the afternoon as we caught them on in the morning, and we were
Yeah.
fishing the same areas. It just was, like you said, a bite window. And
Yep.
when they weren't biting, there was nothing you could do. I mean,
Nope.
every once in a while you'd follow hook one on accident, but like, couldn't count on that. Like, you're not trying to foul hook them. You want to catch them when the jig's in the back of their throat. That's when it's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, and that's like the importance of you talk about having to grind out those days. Like, that's the importance of it. Like, if you like to get out fishing this time of the year, like for me, I've been fishing after work just because that we've been busy here, busy with the boat. So like I've had a couple hours to go out. It's hard to get on a bite in a couple hours. Like, I know when the bite's good, you get your limit in 45 minutes. Yeah, I understand that. But
Yeah.
when the fishing's tough, you have to fish. There's times you have to fish 5, 6, 7, 8 hours to get a good hour, maybe 2 hours of fishing if you're lucky. But
Yep.
when it's good, dude, the size is good. The hits are aggressive. I mean, it's worth every minute of waiting for it.
Yep. And there's so many different factors too that will deter that bite too. Like, if you're in a spot where you know there's a bunch of fish, but there's a lot of boats and they're getting a lot of pressure, that's going to limit that bite window too. The more jigs they have down there, they're not going to bite the whole time, even if they
No,
should be. And you'll see them like on your live scope, they'll be swimming 5, 6 foot off the bottom, and those fish are not biting. They know your jigs are down there; they're the big ones, and you're not going to catch them. But if
no,
you
they're
get
old and
like
smart fish.
yeah, if you get away from those crowds and have like a pot of fish to yourself, that's when it can be magical. And I mean, that's what we had on Saturday. It was crazy. Like, I could not believe there were no other boats around us. I
That's
mean,
what you were saying.
I was netting fish and people were driving by. I'm like, oh, please don't pull in. Please don't pull in. And they just kept going up to the community hole. I'm like, sweet, keep going, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, I mean, it
So
was fun.
like when I talk to my customers and they come in, and that's kind of what I talk about is like when there's a lot of pressure, find a different spot. And a lot of these guys, if they're only fishing on the weekends and stuff, they might only have a few spots. Are you looking at like something on your graph that's similar to what you were fishing prior? Or do you like what is it that kind of attracts you to it? What kind of advice would you give to somebody that would like take you to a new spot?
Just putting in time out there. Like, you're not
Yeah,
going to find stuff every time you go out. There's going to be
big
days
time.
where you fish and graph and trying stuff new, and you're not going to find anything that's worth a crap. And like you might find something, but it's not good when you're there, and it might be good later down the road. And that's something you're just going to figure out through experience. The best
Yeah.
thing you can do, the best advice I ever got was from Tony Yancey. He told me to graph my best spots that I have found and then go and look for other stuff that looks just like my best spot. And those are going to, when my best spot's going, when I found stuff that looks like it, that's going to be going too. And your
Yeah.
best spots change throughout the year. So, like my stuff in June, like especially smallmouth fishing, like my best spot in June, I go out and look for stuff. Like if I'm looking in April and I see stuff, whoa, that looks like what I fished in June, I'll mark it, and you can put a little note in your graph like, hey, check this out in June. It might pay dividends. And the same
Yeah.
thing with walleye. Like you're looking for that gravel bottom and 25 to 28 foot of water and lower current. Like they don't want to be out in the main current spawning. There's plenty of current all over that river. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not like you have to look for it. It's everywhere, but there's little pockets where there's not as much current. There's maybe an eddy behind an island or something. And there doesn't have to be boats there to be fish. Like
No.
you obviously want to look for the opposite of that, fish with no boats.
Yeah, and like I totally get it when guys come in and they're like, we've only got, a day to fish, so I look for those other boats. And a lot of the times, like I try to explain to them, it's going to be the opposite. Like they'll give you a
Right,
good idea of where a school of fish might be, but odds are, man, there's going to be fish above that drift and below that drift, or
right.
somewhere similar to what they're holding to.
And if you see like a bunch of boats on, say, a community hole, um, one good thing to do like is see where all those boats are ending their drifts and start your drift there and go down further because those boats will move fish around. And
Yes.
like if they're tight on the break and nobody's catching any fish, but they've caught them there the day before or 2 days before, maybe go out into the channel a little bit further too because those fish might have been pushed out into the channel. Very rarely would I see fish go shallower than where they were being caught due to pressure. But if you go downstream of the drift and you go out and you don't catch any, then maybe check shallower. But they're they're not gonna swim 52 miles an hour to get out of there. They're just gonna kind of creep their way and move gradually because they're there for a reason, whether it's to spawn or to eat.
Yeah.
And the bait doesn't feel the pressure. Like the emerald shiners are like, sweet, there's a lot of boats here. That means we're not going to get eaten. Like,
Uh-huh. The fish
so
are going
they're
to
going to
be
stick around.
Yeah, the fish will be tight-lipped.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is really, I like the dropping deeper because a lot of those times it does seem like that. Those fish will go deeper because especially like walleyes, like we're always fishing them during the day and they're not primarily a daytime predator. So those fish they feel safer the darker it is, the deeper they can get to. Um, and you can have a lot of success. That's a great heads up because it means a lot, man. Like that little move, if you can get on an active pot of fish for 3 or 4 drifts, dude, that literally flips your whole day.
Oh, yeah.
Flips your
Like,
whole day around.
you put 8 fish in the boat on one drift and you've got 3 people. That's a pretty dang good drift. Like,
Whew.
you only
Yeah.
need, what do you need? Another 10 fish and you're done.
What do you think's
But
gonna happen with all this wind down there? I mean, by the time this podcast comes out, we'd already be fishing this past weekend. But what do you think it's gonna look like? I think it gets a little dirty.
it's dirty, but like we've got some calm stuff coming up this weekend,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll clean up quick. The American
Dirty's
side will
good.
clean up quick. You want color in the water.
Yeah.
Like there's ways to catch them in the mud, and you just have to manage your expectations. Like you're
Well,
not
and the
gonna
mud is
catch.
different than dirty, right?
Yeah,
You know what I
sure,
mean?
sure.
Like staying in a little bit of dirt is good. Mud, you're right. You got to change your expectations. But mud is when some of the biggest fish are caught.
Yep,
So
definitely.
get a little, you know what I mean, a little trade off. Nobody's
Yeah,
gonna
just
complain about catching a 12 pounder.
no. And if you do, you shouldn't be fishing. Like you
That'd
should
be
take up like knitting or something because if you catch a 12 pounder and you're mad because you didn't get your limit, like I don't want to be your friend.
hit the pickleball courts, pal.
Yeah.
I'll be trying for a 12 pounder till I'm buried. Hopefully not.
Nah,
Hopefully not.
The only thing, there's a lot of fish in the system right now, and with more fish, typically the size is down. And
Yep.
honestly, I think we've seen that this year, like especially with the Ultimate Walleye Derby, like there hasn't been a 10-pounder weighed in. And like the first week of April in Detroit, come on, like there should be
Erie,
some 10
yeah.
pounders around. Yeah, Michigan waters at
Saginaw.
Erie. It's there should have been a 10 pound. And there's guys that weren't in the Derby that caught 10-pounders and stuff like that.
The
But
woulda, shoulda,
like,
couldas.
yeah, I mean,
I would have won that. Oh.
yeah, you can't win if you're not in. I
Yeah,
didn't want to
man.
write a check for $1,378, but I did.
Yeah, well, because the opportunity's there to win. And if I walk away
Right?
with a boat note for 35 grand, I'm not going to be complaining. If my
No,
clients walk away with a boat note or any of the prize packs, we're not going to be complaining. If we go down there tomorrow, I mean, dude, the thing is like we talk about this all the time. I talked about it with Gabe when Gabe and Dave were here, but like it's all about participation. So
yep,
like we're making it a point to go out there and spend who knows how many hours out there trying to catch 3 fish. And really selfishly, we only need one. Like one of us needs one.
yeah.
And
I'll
we'll
take
be
three
jacked
though.
for yeah. Yeah, hey,
I want a piece of that hot, sticky apple pie.
I don't know.
Come on.
I don't know how many days Joe has left open, but if you want a chance to win a boat down in Detroit,
Next week. So if this airs
next
on
week's gonna be the
Monday,
week, bro, because it's gonna be warm over the weekend. Like
yeah.
this rain in the warm up. It's gonna be low 50s Friday, mid 50s Saturday, high 50s, low 60s on Sunday into the beginning of the week.
As of right now, I have Tuesday and Wednesday available.
Well, this
So,
is dropping Monday morning, so
yeah,
there's still time.
holler. Yep.
And they already know
And
the
then
drill. If they go right down below the description, website's going to be right there. I was going to say your
check it out.
website, but I've already messed up 3 people's websites. I don't want to mess up another one.
Oh, you'll be all right.
It's LakeSt.
That's it.
I wanted to say Smallmouth Heaven Guideservice.com.
No. That's too many words. Too many big words.
Lake St.
I'll
Clair
keep
Bass.
it simple.
That's the mission, bro. Lake St. Clair Bass.
Might have to make another website like St. Clair Walleye. Something.
The transition's been a beautiful thing, like especially with all the trolling.
Dude, it's just
The
something I
fishing's so
enjoy.
good. Yeah, the
I like
fishing's so
catching
good.
big fish.
Well, and you've been bass fishing for a long time, so it's a little bit of an escape.
Dude, I started walleye fishing down here though. I walleye fished a lot more in the Detroit River before I smallmouth fished St. Clair.
Staying in all
So
those
it's like,
high-end motels down in Taylor.
dude, the Trenton Motor Inn, man. Like, if you want to feel unsafe, I would definitely recommend it. Make
There's
sure you bring a
definitely
sleeping bag too, because you're
there's
gonna get bed bugs.
there's definitely gonna be a listener that's been like
Yeah.
Trenton Motor in. Yeah, we went by that thing pre-fishing last year. You're like, yeah, I stayed there.
Multiple
There?
times.
That spot? Hey.
Yep.
Dude, when you're young, it's like all you need is a place to lay at night because you're just fishing.
30 pack of Bush Light. That'll put you to sleep.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I actually had a customer tell me today. He's like, you know how to make an uncomfortable bed more comfortable? More beer.
Yeah.
It's all right.
I'm good on that now. I'm good.
Yeah,
That's
man,
too
you
close
got
to camping. I'm not camping. There's bugs around. I don't want anything to do with that.
I don't want
I'm
them in
good.
my bed.
No.
Sure as hell don't want them in my bed.
No.
So what's the rest? I mean, we're thinking. You know, it's weird too because you talk about like a big push of hens and like the big push. You already talked about summer spawning and that big push is coming, but like it comes in waves, don't it?
Definitely.
That's what
And
it
it's
seems like.
all related to the moon,
Yeah.
in my experience. Like, we had a full moon the last week of March, and when the temperature and the moon got right, those fish appeared and they started spawning.
Yep.
And a lot of those fish that were spawning, I think, have been there since October because there's fish that live in the river all year long. And they just get really tight in October and they winter together throughout the whole winter when it's cold. And then once we get into March and it's basically still winter, those fish are still together in those big schools, and everybody's like, "Oh, the run's already started. You're gonna miss the run." Like, no, Billy Bob. Like, it hasn't even started, buddy. Like,
Once
these fish have
once
been
you
here.
pick through those resident fish, and you might not even catch them all. They just shut right down.
Oh yeah,
We got the same thing
they
up here where it starts and it's like, oh my god, you hear a couple limits get caught and it's like it's really good and it's like just hang on because those resident fish are gonna get tired out.
right. And it's like one day it's good fishing, the next day it's like you get one or two bites, but it's the same school, and it's like it's all weather dependent, and it just it
And
is what it is.
I had a really cool conversation with a customer in here, and he was saying too, like especially like now that more people are fishing than ever, and like especially around here, we're fishing 12 months a year. He's like,
Hmm.
usually we would have that break, and those fish would have that break. It'd almost be like if the season ended,
Right.
and those fish would have that break to pile up into big pods and really get into big schools. Where now it's like anytime that we do the same thing, but anytime that you get open water and you can go fish, we go fish. You're always breaking up and moving those schools. They never really have time to like
To
set up,
rest. Yeah.
and just really the last 3-4 years people are like, well, they've been kind of weird. It's like, well, there's been no ice, so there's been no break,
Yeah.
you know?
Kind of is what it is. I mean, everybody wants to fish, but like the reason why the fishing is so good is because these fish don't get the pressure. Like if you compare a northern fishery to a southern fishery, and the southern fishery gets fished 365 days a year, and they're catching like 5 to 10 fish, and you're like, dang, that was a good day. And then we're like pissed off that we didn't catch 50.
Yeah.
It's like it's just because like these fish do not get the pressure and they don't see as much bait, and they're easier to catch. They're dumber, and
Yeah.
the less pressure you get, the easier they are to catch. It's like that's fact.
Yeah, and
There's no doubt
it just
about that.
no, and it just goes to show like people go to these fly-in trips all the time. Like a lot of my clients go on the fly-in trips and they're like, "Yeah, we go."
Yep.
It's like, "All right, well, I'll never be able to compete with that because like
No, this is a
and
public
those
fishery. Like
yeah, like
the access is a lot. Even though we bitch and complain about the access, like Lake St. Clair and the Detroit River, which it is terrible. Like the access to this world class fishery is absolute joke.
I
Like
think
a
that's I
joke.
listen, that was another thing we literally talked about today with one of the I think it's the biggest frustration for like me as a bait shop owner and like doing this podcast and doing the charters just like you. It's frustrating because it's hard to show off how good it is because it's hard to do anything. But I think it's also what's kept it so good. Is like the
Yeah, I mean,
locals just keep it to themselves. They're like, this is mine. And they don't tell
yeah.
nobody. And so like nobody I mean, like
Till
the
you get
fishery
those like few little guys that want to be Facebook famous and be like, "Oh,
well,
look at me! Look at me! Look at me!"
the
It's like,
pages
"Oh,
always
cool,
light up.
dude. Now you gotta wait in line to launch tomorrow."
Ah, dude. That
Come
happens.
on.
That happens.
Oh yeah.
Every time I see it on the page, it comes up like Marine City was hot, and then we'll go by the boat launch at like 6:15 on our charters, and it's full. I'm just like,
Yeah.
ah. And that's the beauty and the curse, because like again, I want to show it off,
Yeah.
but then I go to my spot, and I'm gonna sound spoiled because it's busy in the St. Clair River, but I pull up to my spot and there's 15, 20 boats in my drift. I'm not even thinking about it. I'm not even thinking about it because like that's busy. I drift with like
Yep.
4 or 5 boats is what I'm shooting for. Sometimes I'll stick my nose in the community hole because a lot of times, you just can't explain it. There's a billion fish down there.
Oh yeah. It's
So
it's crazy. There's so many fish in the Great Lakes right now,
and like
especially
it
walleye.
and it comes
It's
out again that Lake Erie's does another top 5 hatch. So it's like, how does this? It's like if we as a humans don't destroy our fishery, we're gonna have world class fishing for the next 15 years.
oh, yeah. It's gonna be awesome.
And it's the only thing that the fisheries and those guys are paying attention to down there is the walleyes, sturgeon, a little bit of bass and muskie. But it's like they're because the walleye is such a big moneymaker for. I mean, fuck, the perch are taking a hit.
Yep. The perch are getting decimated. Like
What about those
everything's
mid-size?
eating those poor perch.
I
Everything.
know.
walleyes, muskies, bass, even the big perch are eating the little perch.
Yep.
And those big perch do not get big overnight. They take a long time to grow, relative. Like,
Yeah, they do.
so, yeah.
And
And
I know the walleyes probably aren't harming it a ton, but like that mid muskie population, that's something we should probably keep an eye on. A lot of
I
those.
don't know. Captain Khan sent me a photo today of a big old hen walleye that was spawned out. She had a bunch of perch in her gullet from the
Ew.
Detroit River.
Well, and that's
Yeah,
an underrated perch fishery.
I don't
But
know.
I mean, I don't know about underrated. Maybe just not a lot of, because we got good fishing up here too. But there's some huge perch that pile in that river.
Yeah, if I'm going
Big,
down there, I'm going down there for something over 10 pounds.
it's coming up.
Yeah.
What what is after next week? Are your books pretty full? May's booked.
Um, May's pretty much full. Um, a couple days in April still, but April's after next week, it's pretty full. Got a couple
That's awesome.
afternoon trips for walleyes, and then I've got a little bit in June that's going to be really good trolling spinners for walleyes that I want
Yeah, oh yeah.
after Father's Day. I've got a week right there. I'm still looking to fill, and that's just an awesome time, especially to catch fish with kids and just trolling spinners in the river
Yeah.
or even out on the lake, just depending on the weather. It's That's one of my favorite times because those fish knock the crap out of a spinner, and it's
Yeah.
really fun.
And it's a really cool multi-species trip. I like to tell people a lot of times, like
Yeah.
pulling spinner. I think pulling spinners gets a bad rap. People are like, "Oh, it's no fun." It's like catching
Mm,
24 walleyes and smallmouth and sheephead and everything else mixed in. It's pretty fun.
yeah. It's especially after jigging for 2 months, it's like nice to kind of just put the rods in the rod holder and then just creep them out real nice and slow, and then just crank into them a couple times, and then they go
Watch that
crazy once
rod
they're
just get
hooked.
slammed over. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
That's a really good time in June. Um, and then I mean June, you're gonna be doing a lot of bass fishing, especially come that
yep.
third week of June.
Fourth week.
Is that what it is?
That's when the Canadian side opens. Third week is American side, and that's usually a cluster
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah,
because
yeah,
those
yeah,
fish
yeah.
have been hammered on the whole
Right,
spring. Like that's why I
right.
want to do walleye that week because it's poor bass have just taken an absolute beating.
Yeah, there's there's a lot of boats out there.
Yeah.
So and then
So, but
especially like when the Canadian side's closed, you've only got so much water to fish. It's not a lot of water.
no, it fishes really small, especially that time of the year. Like in the summertime, it fishes a lot bigger, but not really, because there's a lot of dead water because there's no current on the mile roads, kind of in tight. That water gets nice and brown and warm and stagnant.
Yeah.
Those fish like to be out a little bit deeper, and they're mixed in with the perch and the walleyes, and that's what the food's at. But it kind of fishes small. It's just once the whole lake opens up, you got the whole lake, you got both rivers. There's just a lot more
Yep.
space for everybody to spread out. Erie was fishing really good towards the end of last year. I'm hoping that that takes a little bit of pressure off. I mean, seems like everybody's forgotten about Lake Erie over the last 5 or 6 years, but I think it's just giving those fish kind of a little bit of time to recuperate and relax. And that
Yeah.
fishery's definitely, it was hot last year. Like a lot of people were catching a lot of big fish on Erie in the fall. So I'm sure
Yeah.
that's going to continue.
It fished really well towards the end of the season. Um and not a lot of people realize like how much water. They think it's almost like 50-50, but that Canadian side has
No.
so much water. And especially once you open up the rivers, because the rivers are I would say a tougher fishery, but a
Oh, by
very good
far.
fishery. A very
Yeah.
good fishery. Well, it's
Yeah, by
tougher, but
far.
then it's like you go to some spots and you just let the current push you and you're dragging tubes and it's like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but I mean, you can
But
be
dealing
off by 5 yards and not catch a fish, and
yeah,
then
cuz they
you
sit.
literally there's it's not easy up there. I don't
No.
care who you are. Like obviously, people get lucky and they stumble on stuff and they catch big fish, which is why everybody goes fishing to stumble on like the magic spot.
Yeah.
Like obviously we don't know where the magic spot is every time, but when we pull up to a spot that we fished before and it's loaded, we sure look smart, I'll tell you that.
No, I'd rather be lucky than good any day of the week when I step in that boat.
Yeah.
Hate to say it, but it's like, dude, you stumble on some things like that, and it's really cool. Hey, I wanted to ask you about something. I see it on your back wall there. I know you got a pretty cool opportunity working with Northland.
Yeah.
I was gonna bring in their eye candy plastics. They're super nice plastic. They've got the bait fish and they've got the minnows. You've been using them a ton, right?
Yeah, so I got my paws on a few last spring. So I got this opportunity with Northland to partner up with them, and they're really trying to promote their products in the Detroit marketplace. So they kind of reached out. We got a few people that are working with them from around the area, and they, I mean, it's typical partnership. I'm using their products, and they're supporting me. It's just a two-way street, and I tell you what, like before this, I've used Northland stuff in the past. They're a nationally known company, but it's just like what their problem was is they didn't have the market share in Michigan.
No.
So I mean, nobody really talked about it. But now that I've kind of seen what they have to offer and have used their products and their stuff is good. Like it's high quality stuff. Like
On the
MVP
national
jig,
level, I'm sorry, go ahead.
they're like MVP jig is their vertical jigging jig, and it's kind of made for fishing in Wisconsin and Minnesota. But their biggest one is a half ounce, and a half ounce is what I like to jig in Detroit because I like to target big fish, and those big
Yep.
fish are they're not in the middle of the channel in 45 foot of water typically,
No.
especially right now. So using a half ounce, you can get away with it. And I mean, even if you want to fish that really skinny stuff, 8 to 15 foot, you can get away with a 3/8 ounce, especially out the current.
Yeah.
And it's just a premium quality hook. It's a premium paint job. It's a premium wire keeper. It's, and they're expensive. Don't get me wrong, but like with anything, you get what you pay for.
Yeah, I mean, and isn't every? I mean, honest to God, like, isn't everything right now? Like, even
Yeah.
even the jigs that we sell here, even the jigs that we sell here right now are $1.25 a piece for walleye style jigs. And like, I realize it's not cheap, but it's just kind of the cost of doing business. And if you want something good, so that's kind of what I was gonna say. We started with a lot of their terminal tackle and their spinners, their jigs. They're on as a walleye as a national brand, they are a powerhouse in the walleye industry. Like Northland Tackle does a lot. They catch a lot of fish. They do a lot of things. Um, but it like you said, it's more catered. It seems like to like a Wisconsin, Minnesota, and the only reason is it's like smaller jigs, less weight. I
Yep.
think in the future we're gonna see them kind of cater a little bit more to our market. But the other thing, like you were saying, is it offers you the opportunity, like in skinny water. I'll tell you, I got my hands on their 3/8 ounce tungsten jig,
Oh yeah.
dude. The thing's like this big. So the bait that you can run on those jigs, like in the summer when you're fishing over the weeds and stuff like that. So we're definitely, like I said, we want to bring in more of the eye candy because I know they've got the bait fish, they've got a paddle tail. Um,
It's
do you have one on hand? Because they're like
yeah.
stretchy.
So this is the the 4 inch minnow, and they make a 3 inch as well.
Mm-hmm.
But in Detroit, like the Big River, I like that 4 inch profile. And especially like with the half ounce jig,
Yep.
it fits a lot better on there. But it is stretchy. This is my favorite color. It's called Glow Fathead. And it's just a really natural looking color, but this color really works in the stained water too. It's really good.
Looks like it's got a lot of action to it.
Yeah, it's definitely got a lot of action. It's different action. It's got a lot skinnier tail than like a
Oh
typical
yeah.
finesse, and it just keeps like you can't keep it still. It's always moving, and it's stretchy. I mean it.
That's what I noticed, bro. Look
Yeah,
at that.
like and it's durable. It lasts a long time, and I mean it's super soft. Like with the finesse, yeah, you don't go through a lot of finesse minnows in a year, but like they don't have the action. When the fish are really snapping, I don't care what you use, you're gonna get bit.
Yeah.
But when like there's a lot of people in the drift, when the fishing's a little bit slow, when you're not at the peak bite window, doing something a little bit different and using kind of one of these that's a little bit different and not everybody's using it is going to get you more bites, and I'm a firm believer in that. And using the stuff like I'm a firm believer in not wasting anybody's time. If I didn't believe in this, I wouldn't have all this stuff back here. Like everything on my wall, and I'll show you my wall. Like there's all different kinds of brands, and they all have their name, time, and place. This is the
Yep.
stuff that I use right here. Like I have a whole tub of other stuff that I've acquired throughout the years. But the stuff that's on my wall is on my wall because when I get done fishing, I get out of my boat and I grab what I need to grab. And
Yeah.
I'm not using stuff that's in those tubs over there that are labeled that I'll go through next year and see if I want to try these again. But this is the stuff. It works. Like I'm not wasting your time. Like this stuff is worth the price of admission. It works. I like it. I'm gonna even if my deal with Northland doesn't go through next year, I will have this stuff in my boat and I will be using this stuff.
You're
And
using it last year.
I used it last year. My clients will be using this because it works. And
Well, and
it's
that's
in the
yeah.
market's flooded with it. Like not everybody's using it, and I think it gives me a competitive advantage.
No, especially not what that's made out of. We'll have, like I said, we'll have some here at the shop. We already have some of the samples just to show people kind of what it is. But it is different and it is really cool. Like I think, like I said, there's a lot of people out there that are doing different stuff. You touched on something that we firmly believe in, but like the advice we give here isn't for when the bite is good. When the
Yep,
bite is good, you can throw anything down. Like I'm not going to try and pull your leg, but the advice that we're giving you, the leader because we don't want the fish to see it, or the better hooks on our terminal tackle. That stuff makes the difference when either the fishing is tough or you get that trophy on your line. Like the trophy's going to bite when you're not expecting it, right? So you want to all at all times give yourself the best advantage.
definitely.
And so like to have that competitive advantage over the other 10, 15, 40 boats in your drift and the other 200 boats out there, you know, you want to at all times be ready to go. And that's why we love talking to guys like you and other guys that we talk to that use other products, because like you're using that stuff every day.
Yeah.
Every day. And that's what I don't think a lot of people understand, but like it is getting tested. And feedback's pretty good, like with Northland and working with them as far as like the baits and all that.
Yeah, they're a great company so far. I mean, I've still only been with them for a couple months now, but they're definitely receptive and there's stuff that goes on in this market that is unique to this market. There's colors that are unique to this market, and I think we'll be seeing that in the years to come and pretty excited for that. Like it's been really
Little
cool so
hint.
far. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. And it is. It's we always talk about like, oh, our market's so unique, like up here on the St. Clair River, because it is. But all markets are unique.
Definitely.
Like
And
a
you've
lot
got
of
your
the
colors that are going to be good on Green Bay. You've got your colors that are going to be good on Lake Winnebago. You got your colors that are going to be good on the Rainy River. And just because the forage base is different, the water content is different, the minerals that are in the water are different. So that's going to impact the colors of your forage base. Like
Yep.
if you take a emerald shiner out of like what is that lake up there? Lake in Saskatchewan, where all the greenbacks are. Like, look at the
Oh,
difference between
yeah.
those greenback walleyes up there and our walleyes. Like,
Our
they're
silver
still a
bullets.
walleye, but they don't look the same color wise. So,
No.
like, that's why you have different colors for different markets, just because every things are different.
Yeah, your baits are going to be different, and like spot on. Watercolor is going to be different. Where they're feeding is going to be different. The bottom that they're sitting on is going to be different. I mean, you see the walleyes change colors just when the water changes colors.
Oh yeah,
Like the water gets muddy and those fish turn straight like silver.
yep,
And that's why we always talk about like avoiding those whites and light colors. Those fish are turning silver so they can hide. They
yep,
don't see those colors very well. That's why we a lot of times switch to darker colors. So those colors are going to really contrast that muddy water.
Yep.
But no, it's important to know that, and like you said, it's important to work. Companies have it tough, man. Like you got to have a lot of colors to touch a lot of different places, and we talk about it all the time because ours is so unique, and there's only so many fishermen that can come fish this area. It seems like a lot of the times we're forgotten about. So it's cool when national companies are jumping on as well. Like the local guys are always great to have, but they can only do so much. And so to
Right.
have the national companies come behind you and back, once they start backing guys in our area, I know Captain Cons is working with them as well and stuff like that, but that's important because now they're getting direct information from what we're doing daily.
Yep. Definitely. And I mean, there's colors that are going to work all over the country. Green pumpkin, black, Arkansas shiner.
Oh
Those
yeah.
colors are staples all over the country. But like blue ice, where have you seen blue ice outside of Wayne, St. Clair, and Oakland County?
Yeah.
Like,
It's not. But like to us, it's gold.
oh yeah.
Blue ice chartreuse tail is top 3 every year.
Yep. Pimp Daddy, like,
What a color.
did,
You show people that color too. You show people that color and they're like, why? Couldn't tell you. Works.
works.
Works every
I've
time.
got,
I don't put
I've
it
got
on.
them. Like, I hate it, but I've got them because sometimes you have to use it.
If my clients are catching fish, I'm happy. I don't have to use it.
Yeah, and we have to catch fish.
I don't have to use
Our
it.
clients have to catch fish every time out.
Yep.
If our clients don't catch fish, we have to entertain them somehow, and our personalities only go so far. It sure is a lot easier when they're catching fish.
Yeah, man. It's like, and honestly, like your personality doesn't mean shit if they're paying you money and you've been out there for 4 hours and haven't caught anything. That's pretty. Unless you're a stand-up comedian, it's pretty tough.
Yeah,
So, and that's like what you're saying about the wall back there. Like that's a big thing in the shop. Like, I can't put stuff on the shelves that don't work. That's what the tubs in the shed are for.
yep. That's the
And
clearance
it's
bins
exciting,
are.
man, because oh yeah, it's exciting. And that the funny thing about that is like one man's trash is another man's treasure. Like there's a lot of stuff in here that I can't sell that I don't do good with. That if the right customer came through, oh, how
Yep,
many of this do you have? I have a lot of it for $1 a piece.
right. And I mean, you get
Um,
people that are coming in from out of town too, and they're like, "This is what I use at home. Take it because it don't work here."
yeah,
Like, we tried
yeah,
it, and it just like you said, it's his treasure.
yep, and it's exciting, man. Like we're so close to like that time of the year that we all get excited for. Like, I mean, it comes with its own frustrations, but the fishing is so good. The people that we get to meet, typically we have a great time. Playing bumper boats out there, the opportunity at Big Fish. Hopefully our viewers will wish us luck on our adventure because it'll already be done. So I'm sure if we catch a 10-pounder tomorrow, it will be on Instagram by the time this
Oh,
episode
it'll be
drops.
this thumbnail.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That
Yeah,
would be awesome. I'm excited, dude. I'm excited to get out there and go fishing. I've already got some colors picked out. Got a couple worms, got a couple bait fish. Do you have a preference?
right now I like a worm.
Well, that thing's totally different. Is that the jig crawler?
Yes,
Yeah.
that
Which one's
baby.
that?
This is the black jig crawler.
That's a good one.
I would put this in your cart at northlandtackle.com if you're fishing the Detroit River this weekend.
Yeah, this weekend. Or wait two
Oh,
weeks and
come
come to
on, yeah.
hook1baitandtackle.com. No, if you need it this weekend, because I don't know if does anyone have them?
Not to my knowledge, not
Because
yet.
they just came out
DNR
for the
Sports in
spring.
Kalamazoo has them if you're coming from the west side.
Yeah, I don't
They
know if they're on their website or not.
they've got a whole bunch of them in the store.
And they're really not. I mean, it's what, $8.99? They're under $10 a pack.
Yeah, they're like $7.99 maybe.
Yeah, they're under $10 a pack.
I, like I said, I will not. I will always have them. They work.
To me, it's like if you buy minnows, you're getting one use out of it. Like to me, that's worth the price of catching a fish.
Yeah.
It just is. I use flatworms. The fuck? How many?
$8.99 a pack.
Yeah, and how many fish you get out of one?
One.
And it gets launched into the lake. There it goes.
Maybe
You net the
two.
fish. You net the fish, and there goes your flatworm to the bottom.
Yeah.
Probably another fish ate it on the way down.
Yeah, no kidding. That or just cut back on the two tall boys of freaking Ice House on the way home and get yourself a package of jig candy, eye candy. Well, like,
Yeah.
so one thing I will, a little bit of juice, I'll tell you. With this, like TPE material, they're really stretchy, and this goes for several brands other than Northland, so it's going to be either like Z-Man stuff, there's some striking products out there. You're going to want to use a jig that has a wire keeper.
Oh my god, dude. Yes.
So, like, this jig has this wire keeper. It doesn't have
Yep.
a lead collar. And what that does is it allows you to get your jig, your plastic, up on that jig head a lot easier. So I'll show you. I just learned this. I saw this on YouTube, and I wish I would have known it for a long time, especially fishing a Ned rig. But what you do, so you take your jig head and your plastic, and this is a stretchy plastic. This is a jig crawler, and you're gonna thread it on like normal. And the straighter you get it, the better.
Isn't it hard to do this on camera when you're trying to
Yeah.
make an example?
So I've got it on there, and this is where I'm just like normal. I'm gonna pop it out, and then you're gonna slide it up until you get to that wire keeper. Now you're gonna flip your jig. So you got the hook point up. You're gonna grab this plastic right by the, if it was a minnow, it'd be at the minnow's throat. But this is the worm, so it's right at the bottom of the worm. And you're going to pull it down and slide it up to the head of the hook and snap it. And now this is rigged up perfectly.
Okay. So and then you don't have to try and like push it over that wire
Don't
keeper.
push it. If you try and push it over that wire keeper, it's just going to slide back. Especially you catch a fish or if something bites the tail, it's going to slide right back over. But once
Yep.
you snap that plastic and it locks in there, it's locked on. And you can put, like, you can slide it back now and put a little dab of super glue on there, but you don't really need to. It's pretty well locked on there. And then you're going to
Yeah.
throw your stinger hook on there. And then this hook is a 4/0 Gamakatsu. So there's a nice gap between the plastic and the hook. So the way we rig stuff, you've got your stinger hook, you've got an emerald shiner that sticks out this far, and then you're taking another piece of plastic and capping your emerald shiner so that it doesn't come off while you're jigging. So you've
Yep.
got a lot of junk on this bend in the hook right here. So if you're using a 2/0 or a 3/0 hook, this gap has just collapsed and there's no gap. So when you go to set the hook, there's nowhere for this to penetrate.
There's
When
no
you've got
room.
this, there's no room to peg those fish. So when you've got this gap, you've got a lot more hook point that is exposed and able to get up in there and get past the barb and stick those fish.
Yeah.
And it's just
Dude,
one of those
absolutely.
things. Like, this is an expensive jig, it's an expensive bait, but I'll tell you what, it serves a purpose. And it is, when it's tough, I promise you, this more like quality stuff is going to get you more bites.
It makes
It,
a big difference. It makes a big difference when the bite is tough.
yeah. I mean,
Or when there's
that's,
a lot of boats in the drift because it's so much like it's just like to see it underwater and the way the current reacts with it and how if you just pause it and it's still swimming as opposed to being a totally paused bait, like it does make a difference.
yep.
I think it's
It's,
important. I appreciate you highlighting that because it's hard for to see it like how you did it. I mean, it's the whole point we went to YouTube because to
yep.
see it means one thing. You'll probably hear it. Whoever's listening, you'll hear it. But it'll be different. It'll be different when you actually see it because it makes a lot more sense. Because that wire keeper, people are like, oh, my jig still slides. Pull it, snap it.
Yeah. And I mean that with the wire keeper and just your normal plastic, like a finesse minnow, it still works really good. It's just as good as a lead collar. And I would even argue it's better than a lead collar, especially on a 3/4 or 1 ounce jig. That
It's
there might
less.
be something coming out in the future that's 3/4, 1 ounce. Um, but it's a lot easier for it to. It's not huge and bulky, and you don't have to split the top of your head, and it just sits on there a lot better. And like
Yeah.
the thing that my biggest pet peeve, like, and it just drives me nuts, is
Uh-oh.
when I go on Facebook and I look and somebody's like, punch my ticket, and they show a picture of their jig, and I just have to. I'm gonna grab a jig really quick and show you how it's rigged up.
Take your time. Got a little side view of the butt. Here we go.
Whoops. They were hammering it this morning. I caught them all just like that. 8-inch stinger hook right in the mouth. Like, they must have been snapping if this guy
Yeah.
caught a limit. It's just like, come
Well,
on,
and the
dude.
problem is too in the plastics like that. How are you gonna like? You talk about losing a bend in the hook. There's no way you're gonna be able to get a stinger, a minnow. You get like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It goes, and again, it's tough because a lot of people like you don't want to bag on them, but a lot of people will fish like during the run when the fishing is really good, and we really want you guys fishing like outside of that and having a lot of success.
Yeah, we want you buying minnows on the days where it's a little bit slower.
Yeah,
So
come by
that,
minnows.
yeah, come buy minnows. Come buy some night crawlers. Get some jig crawlers. Get some 4-inch Northland minnows. Like, there's fish to be caught. And the biggest fish I've ever caught, I did not catch a limit.
Yeah, it's we're not gonna catch a limit tomorrow. I'm
No.
I mean maybe we get on a good pot of fish, but that's not what we're shooting for.
We're not even going to fish for a limit.
No,
Like, we're not
no,
even going to try.
don't want to.
This is
Want to
bugging me.
learn new things. Want to do new things. What are you gonna have tied up tomorrow? What are
I
you gonna
will
tied up this
have.
weekend? Come on, give him some. Give my guys. We're gonna have a beautiful week ahead. This is coming out on Monday. It's 60 degrees. We got a beautiful day ahead. Give him
I'm
some.
gonna grab my rod. I'm like, can't bullshit if I'm grabbing the rod out of the boat that I'm gonna be using.
Go get it. Well, he's going to get it, guys. I will let you know that the Derby is still going well. We've got 8 pounds, 4 ounces in first place, 7 pounds, 7 ounces in second place. In my absolute nightmare, 7 pounds, 6 ounces in third place. But yes, they're only 1 ounce apart. There's still time to get signed up. You can sign up till the end of April. We're going to be fishing until the end of May. I get my boat back at the end of this week, and I can promise you I'm going to want to win my own Derby. Shamelessly. How's it going over there, Joe?
All right,
Here we go.
these came out of my boat. They're rigged for tomorrow.
A beautiful Nitro ZV21. Shameless plug for you, Cap.
Yeah. So we got a 5.9 medium legend tournament
Yes, sir.
dinosaur. These are now extinct.
Those were my favorite ones.
On this one, we have, let's see, a 1/2 ounce Northland MVP jig and a black jig crawler. She's ready to go. This is going
You
to be the
wouldn't guess.
first one I put down.
All right, so I'm going to avoid the black worm.
You don't have a black worm on in dirty water. Are you even fishing?
The mighty brown worm.
I
It's
feel
not
like
the
she's going to be
same.
a little dirty.
Yeah, it's not the same.
Next, this bait may or may not have put a fish on the leaderboard in the boat ticket division of the Ultimate Walleye Derby.
If you don't believe him, check leaderboard.
6'3", medium action, legend tournament, sunrise core, jig crawler,
Yeah.
glow MVP jig, 1/2 ounce, and a Northland stinger.
There you go.
And I will
I
tell
like that
you,
color.
one thing that I have learned over the last couple years, and this is just personal preference, I have went to all dipped stinger hooks
You like them,
because
huh?
I like them. Like they're they're more expensive. There's not as many of them available. But my only problem, yours are the only ones that I've not had this problem. A lot of the other ones though will kink when you put them on, and they'll go off to the side. Yours, I don't know what you guys are doing up there, what's in the water in Marine City, but yours stay straight.
I
A
will
lot of them
say
do not.
we used the wrong crimps on a batch, and I've been getting some not so nice messages about losing people's fish because we used some aluminum ones and they are cutting people's line.
Oh
So if
no.
you got any of the silver crimp stingers, you can bring them on back to us. But I think it's the line that we use that, and I honestly I think we tie them and sell them faster than they can get memory.
Yeah, that's got to be it. Because there's a lot of them on the market, and a lot of hand-tied ones that I've used that they're just like
They're
baits
like,
in line, and then the stingers over here.
yeah,
But it's all personal preference.
hundred
That's what
percent.
fishing is. It's what you have confidence in. Like you're only going to get confidence in fishing something that you want to fish.
Yes,
Like
I agree.
I can tell you what to use. I can tell you how to use it, but it doesn't mean shit if you don't believe it. Like
No,
if you
no, I
think
mean,
it's gonna work and you have confidence in it, you're gonna catch fish on it.
yep, I would agree. And I've seen it happen. People using to me the craziest baits or the craziest looking things I've seen. I'm like, really? And they're like, oh, it's my best bait. It's confidence, man. It's just plain and simple. There's no other explanation for it.
I cannot argue with success. Whatever works,
No,
works, and whatever works
no,
for you works for you, and that's really all that matters. Like, uh,
that's it.
who cares? Like, you go through Facebook and oh, I'm catching them on Dirty Larry. Oh, I'm catching them on Blue Ice. Oh, it does like if you don't think you're gonna catch them on that, you're not.
No, nope.
If you think you're gonna catch them on something else, then you probably want to fish whatever you think. Like,
Put
because
it on.
that's what you're gonna jig better. You're gonna be mentally in the game. Like when you think you're not gonna get bit, you're not gonna get bit.
You don't have a
I
chance.
don't, not a chance.
You just don't stand a chance.
I've seen it so many times where guys are fishing the exact same bait as somebody else, but for some reason it's in their head that that other person's doing something special, and they're not. They're just in the ball game. They're concentrating, and it's you're they're living in your mind
Yeah,
rent free.
rent free, rent free. Let it go. I've seen
Yeah,
guys just straight up flip spots on the boat. I'm like, not gonna help.
doesn't matter.
Sometimes it does help, and that really blows my mind. I really I really don't have an answer for that. If there's one spot in the boat that's catching them, I don't know,
Yeah,
but I've had it happen. Um. Anyway, brother, we are there. We've hit an hour. I appreciate you taking
probably
time out
gonna
of your
be
busy
edited
day.
down to about 38 minutes after the old kerfluffles.
Well, technology is going to do what technology does. It gets better every day. So that's what they tell us. No, we've got a good. I'm not going to put a time on it because I'll look like an idiot when it's all said and done. Well, it's
Give them the Kyle Scott.
what I'm worried about.
After some time passes.
Yeah, exactly. What I'm worried about is the content of it. Because to be honest with you, if it was an hour of us babbling, or we get 38 minutes of good information that's going to help you guys catch fish, like that's what we need to do. I really
Quality
appreciate you
over
taking
quantity.
time to. That's it, man. That's it. And you took time out of your night. I know you got a lot going on, with the fishing, with the family, the baby, um, and honestly, like you spend a lot of. I tell a lot of people, a lot of stuff that we have to offer is right here. And so for you to come on here and give tips and tricks and stuff like that, like you put a lot of time in for that. So we all appreciate it. Like the viewers do
Yeah,
too.
happy to be
So
here.
we'll have you back. We're gonna have to try this be a regular thing. It gets you out into the garage a little bit. Keeps us talking and keeps us updated on your side of the lake there. I mean, obviously we're always talking. I say that all the time. It's like we should those stupid stories we tell around your table in the back with Kyle and Chase and a case of beer. Like, that's the stuff that the viewers, like, that's the information that people want.
Yeah.
Maybe
We'll have
one
a
day.
round table one of these days.
I want to do it on the dock here soon, but if it doesn't stop blowing less than 30 miles an hour, it's going to be impossible.
It's hard to keep the boat straight when you're blowing 30 miles an hour.
That would be pretty cool, is doing one out on the water.
Yeah.
I don't know how we would do that.
Yeah, we'd
I
have
have
to have
mics.
the one day that it's calm, and we don't connect to the Canadian towers.
And we're not booked on the
And
same day.
AT&T doesn't.
Don't. We're not starting with AT&T. I'm going to end my night. It's 9 o'clock. I'm going to end my night. I don't need to be riled up about AT&T and their shitty service. I'm not doing it. Which, by the way, is frustrating because if I have guys trying to call me and I'm sending them right to voicemail, it's like, and then you tell the guy, hey, man, sorry, my phone's not working. Okay.
Yeah.
My dog ate my homework, dude. It's like, shit. But anyway, Joe, why don't you let the people, before we leave, where can they find you? Website, social medias, anything you care about?
www.lakestclairbass.com. There's walleye information there as well. There's a fishing report. If you're on your phone, click the three little bars up in the top left corner. That'll drop down a menu for you. And there's a couple videos on there, lots of pictures. Check it out. Instagram, Joe_Bauer_fishing. Facebook, Smallmouth Heaven Guide Service. Check it out. Shoot me a
Same
DM
deal, guys.
if you have any questions. Happy to help.
Yeah, well, that's a big thing. Happy to help's a big thing, guys. So, again, we appreciate Joe being on here. Likes are free, shares are free, follows are free. They all really help us out. So head over and check out Joe's stuff. If you've got any questions, reach out to Joe. If you want to book Joe, head to the website down below. Come into the shop. We've got his business cards with a functional QR code on them.
We do.
So, again, technology is a beautiful thing. Other than that, if you haven't signed up for the Derby yet, sign up. We've got 239 people out there fishing. That means there's some really good fishermen. If you win that, you're either really lucky or really good. We're going to tell you you're really good. So come in and sign up for that till the end of April. Otherwise, find us anywhere you podcast. We're on all social medias at Hook One. We're out of here. Adios.